Alright, in this video we're going to talk about non-circular gears and a lot of the basics of understanding how to use them. So we're going to be using this 40 gear from the compact gear set in my examples here, but all this information applies to all the non-circular gears no matter their size. So we've got a gear with 40 teeth here, and you can see it's got another number that's 6416. That is the parameters for its sides, 64, and its corners, 16. That means that because its sides are made of parts of a 64 circle, it can't roll well in anything smaller than 64 because it's actually a bigger circle. Like, it almost works in the 60, but it can fit into this 48, but it absolutely will not roll in the 48, like it's too big. So we'll be playing in the 96 space today. And the 40 and the 64 are really easy to read because I've inked those. I'll do a quick video. My next video will be on how to do that yourself. It's quick, it's easy, it's reversible. Okay, so the 6416 tells us what hoops we can put the gear inside of. Conversely, over here, because it's got 16 in the corners, only gears smaller than 16, like a 14, can roll through these corners. Otherwise, something big like an 18 can sort of do it, but it might get stuck. And a 21 will just really have a hard time. It'll probably bind up. You might be able to get away with it on a small design, but on a big design, it's going to skip. You're going to have a bad time. And something like a 24 is absolutely just can't mesh. Can't do it. It's stuck. Oh, heck. If it gets stuck, try and lift straight up to unmesh the gear teeth. Anyway, don't get your gears stuck together. It's not a good time. So let's just start with, okay, other pieces of anatomy of the gear. We have circular gears have just one axis of symmetry, so any line that's coming from the center out is like the same. Whereas this, it's got an axis of symmetry where you could fold it in half like this, and so it's symmetrical there. And so we have one primary row of pen holes that goes down the middle. We've got another row of primary pen holes that goes at the corner, and these will make different types of designs. And the corner doesn't usually have a lot of room, so it's just got one row of pen holes. Whereas on this one, you've got your, I guess I should call these columns of pen holes, and then they are shifted over, but they're staying the same distance from the edge. And these are all features that let you make different shapes of design. So I'm going to start one pen hole in. I'll just show you what shape this makes. Come on, here we go. And a general characteristic of the non-circular gears is that they make these like kind of chunky or wobbly designs as it rolls around the corners and the edges. And I really like how this looks. I think it's very cool. And how like sharp or chunky or rounded these pieces look depends on a lot of things, partially on the ratio of the 64 to 16, but also on how close the 64 part here is to the ring. So I'm just going to move this over. That's, a very nice basic design. I'm just going to move this paper over and put some hoops in, and we're going to roll this 40 gear in a 64 ring. And so it doesn't really have any roll, so it's because it's also got 64 edges, so it's just going to go ka-thunk, ka-thunk, if that makes any sense. All right, back to the same pen hole. And because it's a 64 instead of a 96, it will make a different number of petals in the design, but also the general shape is sharper, is crisper. Like, it's not as rounded here. You can, as my hand gets out of the way here, you can see it's got much pointier edges and points. which I think is, an interesting feature to be able to control and know what you're going to get with each of these. So kind of rounded points, pointy points. And that has to do with the, 64 part of this gear. All right. Next, what do the different pen holes positions do? Oop, I can just leave this here. We can work with this one. Okay. So that was, we'll put that back. Not quite. Okay. We'll just restart so we can have proper alignment. All right. New paper. Just flip it over. Here we go. So there's a couple different things to look at here. We'll reset this up. And it's what happens if you use the corner instead of the edge pen hole. So let's start there. Black corner. And you might notice that I'm working sort of one pen hole in what would be number 2 on any of the gears. And that is because it's just a little bit easier. The 1 is fine, you can do it, but I like doing all my sort of demos and experiments on the 2 just because it's more comfortable. So it kind of turned the design inside out. The last one, that's on the other side of the page, was pointy at the edges. This one is flat, and that is a general inversion that you'll get. If you play with some non-circular gears, you will see that if you use the corner as opposed to the edge, you get kind of this inversion of the shape. All right, next, what happens if we use the fan? So we've got several options here. We can go up and down a column, or we can go across a fan. So I'll start going up and down the column. And we've seen this one, so I'll see if I can't just do it real quick here without messing anything up. All right, new color, pink. And let's go way up, two pen holes up. And you see it gives you the same sort of geometry, like it's giving us the same number of petals, but everything is really tight into the middle now. And so it looks very different, but it's the same shapes. Like you can see the arc here and the arc here. It goes across. It's all just been squished a bit. Now, that is different from if we grab some green and we're going to go over 2 again. Let's go over 1. It might be easier to see the difference. And so in this one, it's kind of been, I keep saying scooshed. Not everything is scooshed. It has been pushed to one side. And so the design itself is still very geometric and symmetrical, but everything's been pulled over. So like this point corresponds to that one, this point corresponds to that one. And so it's this swoopy asymmetrical shape in each petal. And so you can squish it by going up this row of pen holes, or you can make it swoop to one side or the other by going across these pen holes, and you can have a mix of both. So you've got a lot of options of how you want to manipulate the basic shape that you can make. And if you have a non-circular gear that only has like one side of a fan of pen holes, you can just flip it over, and that gives you a second side of the fan of pen holes. And that's some non-circular gear basics. Go forth and explore the chunky, melty designs you can make with them. All right, have a good day.